Hello, I am Avery or Hazel or Kylie. Just pick one, I don't care.
Hello, I am Lily.
And I thought this was supposed to be a stealth mission. Anyway,
It is.
welcome to From the Closet. Today we are covering How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. It's about time we get to closing out this trilogy because we started this trilogy with episode 2.
Very long ago.
Yeah, and then we did
Super
How to
long
Train
ago.
Your we then did How to Train Your Dragon 2 as episode 31. That was back when we still spun the wheel at the end. Speaking of spinning the wheel, I'm gonna go do that right now.
We haven't spun the wheel in so long. Well, it feels like it's been
It's
so long.
it's literally been like 2 weeks. Okay, and it landed on Love,
That's
Simon.
long. Interesting.
Hell yeah. Now, just to get this out of the way, I'm aware of Love, Victor as a show. It that may cause struggles for us covering it, so we probably won't cover that for a while.
And I have said before, but this is the podcast where I should say it. We will cover the first Netflix show of How to Train Your Dragon. Anything else that they've released will not be counted, as
All
I do
right.
not count that as good.
So before we, go further, I should tell you, you can join us tomorrow for Star versus the Forces of Evil Season 1. You can join us next week for Love, Simon and Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated Season 1. With all that out of the way, this podcast episode will contain spoilers for How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. You have been warned. Spoilers starting in 3, 2, 1. Hiccup and Astrid get married.
I want okay. I want to say the best line in the movie and just shows how insensitive Snotloud is. Who died and made you chief?
Yeah, that was. I was like, bruh.
I just like how everyone else reacted. Like, ooh.
Like, yeah, no, you don't say shit like that. But okay, so right away, I'm gonna throw this out there. Um, this movie is better than 2, not as good as 1. But
We're
it
having a lot of that recently.
but it still has its problems. Namely,
Mhm.
for one, I think the scenes where they're like trying to build the relationship between Toothless and the Light Fury, they never name her. Um, I think those scenes drag on for far too long. And the other thing,
Yeah.
I have no idea why
Hmm.
they don't suspect that, like why Hiccup and Astrid and the other villagers don't suspect that the Light Fury could be, it could have anything to do with the person who is chasing them and trying to steal their dragons. It just seems weird that none of them are suspicious.
Hmm. I haven't really thought about that.
Yeah, I was thinking about it throughout the movie, and I'm like, why don't you suspect the Light Fury at all?
I mean, not something that I don't know. I find that as more of a minor thing.
I also totally called. No, I don't really find it minor because Hiccup is supposed to be like brilliant, and he doesn't pick up on it. And then there are other people. There are so many people. Surely at least somebody was suspicious. But yeah, the other thing, I started to say something and then I forgot what I was saying.
Hmm.
Fuck. I love how that happens. I can't even go back and
Yeah.
listen to it.
um, I will actually state one of the biggest complaints. Well, actually, one of the biggest complaints that I see, and I don't actually think it's that justified, is the dragons leaving at the end. Now, I will definitely complain about the dragons leaving at the end, and then they continue making more How to Train Your Dragon content after that.
Okay, I can
Like that
understand
was a
why
perfect scene.
sorry. I can understand why people would complain about the dragons leaving at the end because it feels like a complete departure from what they were trying to do with the first two movies. Like, the whole thing is that they were trying to get the humans and the dragons to live peaceably with each other. And the messaging was very clear that, like, that was Hiccup's purpose. It was who he was. They weren't even that subtle about it. They outright stated it. Specifically, Hiccup's
Mhm.
mother outright stated it. It's kind of like how, like, I'm not saying that they're right. I'm just saying that I can understand where people are coming from.
Yeah.
Because it's the same
Well,
thing
I
with
personally.
it's the same thing with Toy Story 4, and I'm not going to
Hmm,
spoil that here. If you've seen Toy Story 4 and seen any of the
you
criticisms
should
of it,
know.
yeah, like if you know, you know. We're going to get to Toy
Um,
Story 4 eventually.
I bring it up, and I do understand the criticism is valid. I don't agree. I don't feel the same way about it, though.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where people either like it's a point of contention. People either see it as a good thing or they see it as a bad thing.
It's also another big thing I see about this movie is, well, I want to say more of an underwhelming villain. And to that, I actually say the villain wasn't who you actually thought it was. It was Hiccup himself.
No,
I guess more of his self doubts.
like no, like there's a character arc here of like Hiccup like learning to be confident with himself, but like really no, the real villain is just the guy who's trying to kill Toothless.
I guess villain is the wrong word. I mean, that's the point of where they focus with the movie. It's the plot is not with the villain. The villain is just, an everyday occurrence that they have to face, and the plot is Hiccup's realization that he can't do this forever.
So I finally remembered what I was starting to say earlier. Um,
Hmm.
so I totally called very early on that we would see a very, very close call where either Toothless or the Light Fury was like about to die, and also Hiccup would be in danger at the same time. And there would be a really like there would be a choice, and that they would somehow both make it out of it anyway.
That is more of a cliche thing, but
And also, like,
mm,
as soon as the word marriage was brought up, I was like, okay, yeah, Hiccup and Astrid are going to get married at the end of the movie. I did not, however, expect to see them having kids at the end of the movie.
oh, right. I think I found one. comment that I so far disagree with. That the ending of the movie, where Astrid and Hiccup and their kids go out to see Toothless, defeats the entire point of Hiccup sending the dragons away. And I don't agree with that.
No,
Mostly because of how much time has passed.
well, it's not just that. It's like they're not implying that this, like, uh, uh, fuck, what's the word? They're not implying that this reunion, that's it, reunion. They're not implying that this reunion is a permanent thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably what that commenter missed, was that this was not meant to be permanent.
I'm just trying to figure out any other common complaints with this movie, because it was a very controversial one. And honestly, I think I hit them all.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest problem is just how dumb some of the characters just act. Like I said, it doesn't make sense for anyone to not be suspicious. It
I don't know. I could
really,
see
really
why.
just doesn't. And then, okay, so I do want to briefly touch on that one character who gets captured or left behind, and then the way she gets out is by annoying her captors to death. Like, good lord, that is exactly the same thing I would do if I was ever kidnapped. Like, I have said that in the past multiple times, that is how I would get out of a kidnapping. And I can't believe we actually fucking saw that in a film. That is hilarious.
She's just so annoying that they just let her go.
It's just
Um,
too good.
so I actually want to briefly touch about the TV show, as I don't think I mentioned the TV show takes place between How to Train Your Dragon 1 and 2, released after 2, and none of it was mentioned in 3.
So as far as like movie watchers are concerned, it really doesn't matter. But yeah, you actually
Basic.
have
But,
mentioned it a lot.
hmm. Um, it's actually a really good show and actually expands the personalities of the background characters, like Snotlout, the twins, even it even actually more deepens Astrid's and Hiccup's relationship.
See, I think the Astrid and Hiccup relationship was probably the best aspect of this movie. Although, like, I don't know, I don't feel like we needed to have a marriage there. It was just kind of, how do I put this? I don't feel like I watched these characters grow up enough to see them get married. It's like, you
Hmm.
know, How to Train Your Dragon 1 to How to Train Your Dragon 2 was just kind of a snap, and they're suddenly like going from, I don't know, 13 to 20.
Yeah, they allowed the characters to age, and
They did the aging all at once, and it just didn't sit right. I don't know.
hmm,
Like, but they are very adorable together, and it's also a very healthy relationship, which is something that Hiccup did not have with his father. Um, and this movie tries to. That's another thing I think I don't really like about this movie, is that the movie kind of, sort of tries to make you think about Stoic in a more positive light, but he never, in my mind, he never really fully redeemed himself from the shit that he did in the first movie.
It's not like he can redeem himself anymore. He's dead.
Yeah, but still, like
And
that
at
that.
least from what I can pick up, he was still a great chief. Like, one of the best.
See, I'm not saying that he can. It goes back to my problem with How to Train Your Dragon 2. I think he died too soon. Um,
Hmm.
because he could have had a really, really great redemptive arc, and I felt like his character development was kind of speed ran a bit.
Yeah. That actually, and a lot of these things actually does help when I think about the TV show. Because it really does just put a magnifying glass on what the events happened between 1 and 2.
I mean,
And while I think it is canon to the actual movies, the way that everything ended, nothing actually needed to come back in 3 because, well, it just ended perfectly.
all right. I don't know when we're covering this TV show, but I will say we will be doing a retrospective on this series
Hmm.
after we cover this TV show. Um, and I don't feel like we need to include any of the newer TV show stuff in with it, especially
I do
since,
not want
es-
to.
especially since it's clear that all the newer stuff is just a cash grab, um,
Hmm.
rather than something created out of like artistic desire. So yeah, that's my stance on it. You will see a retrospective of this series. I don't know when because I don't know when we're doing this TV show. We've got quite a lot of TV shows that
It
we're
does
already
have,
committed to.
yeah, and this TV show does have quite a few seasons to it too. So I remember waiting for Netflix to drop the new season and then just binging it all in like 1 to 2 days.
Uh, okay, so something else about this movie. We saw these like little tiny gold dragons. Do those
Hmm.
have a name?
Probably somewhere. Like, they do name a lot of the dragons, and they leave like lore pieces everywhere and a lot of media that they produce, which is games, movies, TV show, all of the. How to Train Your Dragon received the works when it comes to media representation.
Yeah, received a lot of cash grabs. Um, but yeah, I you know when we go to the when we actually go to the hidden world, um, see at first everything's like really dark, and gloomy, and I'm like, oh geez, and then they go through like a tunnel and they come out, um, and like everything's bright. There's dragon eggs everywhere and like lots of colors. And I'm like, yeah, I don't. If I was a human, I would not want to live here because those bright colors all the fucking time. No, thank you.
But it was definitely a pretty moment.
Yeah, like it's a nice moment to see it. Um, it's a nice moment to see it in the film, and I'm glad I watched the DVD, and didn't
Hmm.
watch it on my tiny ass phone screen. But yeah, like
Yeah.
I was literally thinking I would not want to live here as a human. Um, no, thank you.
Oh, I almost forgot.
And,
I forgot to mention my relationship to this movie. I remember I went to Fred Meyer and it was up by the DVD section, and then I saw it, and obviously it was new, but I needed it. And then that same night, I popped it into my DVD player to watch it.
Hmm.
I really wish I saw it in theaters, but
Yeah, tonight was the first time I've watched this movie, for sure. And like, I don't know, I was not predicting just from seeing like the promotional material, like the posters
hmm.
and like the DVD covers and shit. I was not predicting that this would be how the Light Fury is handled. And I gotta say, it's a little weird that it has a different name when it's the same species as Toothless, and it's
Oh,
just
it's not.
like it is very clear that it
It's not.
is in the movie.
No, because you remember his children? Completely different. It's more of a mixture.
The children literally showed some were completely all black and some were completely all white. Like, that to me signaled that, oh, the black ones are male, the white ones are female. And they're the same species, and that's just gender dimorphism.
Yeah, they actually did confirm the reason because of that is they're just two completely different species.
When and where?
I don't remember, but you should know I listened to watch a lot of promotional material. So I'm gonna take a stab at maybe the How to Train Your Dragon 3 bonus content.
Okay, so I hate to burst your bubble here. Um, that's not how biology works.
This is a made up film.
Yeah, I don't care. Like it does not it doesn't track that like their kids are one species or the other and not some totally new species that's a hybrid when they very clearly look entirely like either their mom or their dad and not a mixture.
Oh, you mean these mixtures of because none of them are completely white and none of them are completely black.
I literally just watched the movie and they were.
I'm actually pulling up images between all of them. One of them is more white than the others, but the ears are black. The little strip is. One of them is a bit more white, bit more black, but the feet are white, and some of the scales are. And the middle one has a white stomach and black back.
Okay, well, if this is the case, then they always showed them way too far away for you to notice that. Because when I was watching it on the
Yeah,
DVD, I was literally 2 feet away from my TV screen, and they looked completely white or completely black.
yeah, they are a mixture.
If they wanted to have some kind of lore like that, they should have, like, they really should have just made it more apparent. Honestly.
Probably, yeah. I think I remember that watching when I first watched it, how that they were completely different, also that they were completely adorable. Could be wrong. I have bad memory, so
Another thing, too, like, okay, this was pointed out in the cinema therapy video um,
hmm.
on the first two movies, but, like, pretty much every animated movie with a fictionalized like creature kind of suffers from this, but um and it's true for the How to Train Your Dragon franchise too. It's got the everything's a dog um, thing going.
Yeah.
Like almost every fantastical creature in any animated movie um, pretty much acts like a dog a lot of the time because and I know it's just because that's what people are familiar with, but like maybe it'd be nice to see something kind of original, like a completely different way of behaving. Because in the real world, not all animals behave like dogs. In fact, most of them don't.
It's true, but my only counterpoint is that because of this, the dragons are fucking adorable.
Even the ones that spit acid.
Yes, I wouldn't want to own them. I'd probably stand like 10 feet away, but
Just 10 feet?
okay, probably farther. Yeah, probably way farther.
Yeah, I would hope you would stand farther away. I'd hope you would have some common sense. But yeah, let's see. Okay, so the
Oh, and
score.
you.
Okay, I definitely think the score in this movie is good, but it didn't
Hmm.
feel nearly as good as the first two movies.
I think I always love the music in How to Train Your Dragon, especially the intro. Then again, I don't really think that changes much.
The animation, once again, still really fantastic.
Amazing lighting as usual.
I have to say that moment when Toothless shot his like fire beam out and then flew through it, and then looked back at his tail and saw, oh, it's not burnt, and then he did it again, and I was just like, I wouldn't keep testing that. Like I literally said it out loud. I was like, I would not keep testing that. And I was hoping to God he didn't keep going and then like end up with a hole in it and some kind of tragedy nearly happen.
Didn't Hiccup say that is fireproof?
You can say something's fireproof, but that's
Didn't also the same person literally walk through fire with his fireproof armor? So he would know what's fireproof?
you can say something's fireproof, but nothing is ever truly fireproof. A lot of it depends on the heat of the fire and time. Just like nothing is ever truly bulletproof. You can shoot if you shoot enough bullets, eventually one of them will go through.
Hmm. Yeah, this is. I said it before, this is my favorite movie series of all time. If it feels weird to wrap up at least the trilogy.
And like we're pretty much like at some point we're going to be done with this franchise. Um
Mhm.
and I think that would be the
I
first.
wish DreamWorks was. I wish DreamWorks would just be done with the franchise as well.
Yeah, like come on DreamWorks, let a good thing end while it's still good. I think it's
I
that's a
mean,
thing that a lot of movie studios and even like TV studios completely miss. Like SpongeBob could have ended when it was still good, and I don't think we would
mhm.
have nearly as many people hating on SpongeBob as we do these days. Um, and then, of course, we have the Fairly Odd Parents revival, which,
Oh God.
yeah, the iCarly revival is at least good, but I also stopped watching it mainly because I just got busy and had a bunch of other stuff to watch, and I have a lot of projects going on for my main YouTube channel, including a
And
certain thing that I teased yet in yet not yesterday's episode. Fuck. In the last episode we recorded, which would have released last week.
yeah,
I teased
and
it. It's
don't.
still in the works. I'm hopefully going to be I'm hopefully going to be starting recording for it tomorrow. So look forward to
Hmm,
that.
back on our main topic. Don't get me started on Illumination.
Ugh.
You know what? They had a good thing going with Despicable Me. They ruined it.
They ruined it
They
as soon as they
ruined it
made
again.
two.
They no, they put it 6 feet under, and then dig that up and felt that 6 feet just wasn't deep enough.
I mean, it's like, okay, I didn't even think Despicable Me 1 was that great. But, like, I'm known for shitting on Illumination because I think they are the worst animation studio in the business right now. Um, I think they're worse than Sony,
And
and Sony's produced works such as Open Season. So,
um and I have seen someone not defend their movies, but defend the studio. Because, well, their movie studio is basically dumb humor that families can laugh at and just turn off their brains. They mastered that.
see,
Hell, my
to
family
me,
loves, the Minions because that's the audience. They're aiming at parents. They're aiming at young kids.
what their studio looks like is let's hire big name actors, or not even just necessarily big name actors, big name celebrities, to play roles in our movie that doesn't really have a good story at all. Because you can't really argue any of their movies have a good story at all, except for the ones that they didn't write, like the Lorax. They didn't write the Lorax. Dr. Seuss wrote the Lorax. Um,
I think they did write the most of the plot for the Lorax.
yeah, but like the whole point is like they don't really have good stories behind them, and they're betting, and their animation is typically not nearly as good compared to what we see with DreamWorks or Walt Disney Animation Studios or with Pixar. You don't have these amazingly beautifully animated scenes in Illumination movies that we see in works like Wally and fucking the
Hell, this movie.
How to Train Your Dragon series, and for some reason I'm not thinking of a Walt Disney Animation Studios movie that had a beautifully animated scene, and I don't know why I can't think of one.
I mean, you have like Tangled.
Yeah, but like Tangled doesn't have any shots really that are meant to truly take your breath away, except I guess when the lanterns first take off. But like,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
was. I was just thinking about the
but like
lanterns.
I don't want to use that as my example because it's an example from 2010. And like
Hmm.
they definitely have made something more visually stunning since then because it's been 12 years. I just can't think of anything right now because my brain is stupid.
Well, it exists, and it's better than anything Illumination's done. You're just gonna have to trust
Yeah,
us.
yeah, that's my point. And yeah, usually celebrity voice acting to pull in ticket sales, really. Uh, like using people like literally using Taylor Swift. Um,
But the big thing to take away from all of this is that you can't win. You cannot win because Illumination has found their audience. And no matter how much you tell them that these are trash movies, they're gonna be like, but funny Banana Man go fart.
yeah, because like okay, people. I have made my peace with the fact that the general audience has no idea what a good movie is or what a bad movie is. All right, there are people who defend uh, Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Why couldn't I think of the name at first? That movie is a bad movie with a nonsensical plot and shitty visuals. And yet, it is loved by thousands of people. And I think mainly it's nostalgia. And then parents loved it because their kids shut up for a few hours.
Have you ever, okay, in your life, have you ever seen someone try to defend the Percy Jackson movie?
Yes,
I couldn't even think.
literally my older sister, because she doesn't read.
Really? Fair enough.
Granted, she's given up because me, my younger sister, and our father all disagree with her. It's like, yeah, three against one, honey. But yeah, like she doesn't understand what a good movie is and what a bad one is. Um, Although sometimes she will call something a lot sooner than I'll call it. Like, uh,
Hmm.
because like I often will watch a new movie, and my height for watching it, um, like before going into it, will elevate my opinion of the movie for a while before I'm able to come back down and think critically about it. So, like, one of the situations where this happened was Incredibles 2, where, like, as soon as I watched it in the theater, I said it was as good as the first one. And now I'm nowhere near that. Now I'd say Incredibles 2 is in the bottom half of Pixar movies, which still leaves it as good because it's Pixar. But
And, well, the thing about rating movies is that we, as humans, are fairly subjective. Nostalgia, like you play a game, it's your first game, you'll probably think very highly of it, other than like your 50th, because that your first something would probably set the baseline for all other things. And that
see,
baseline could change, but a lot of the time, you still hold a lot of the things with joy.
the funny thing is, that's usually not true with me. Like my first Zelda game was Ocarina of Time. I can't stand playing vanilla Ocarina of Time. I hate it.
I mean, there is always exceptions.
Yeah. And then, like, my first Pokemon game was Pokemon Ruby. I don't like Hoenn games at all. Um, and, like, I truthfully didn't like Pokemon until I played Explorers of Time.
I think one of the bigger things is that how I play. Actually, my first Pokemon game was Gates to Infinity. And while everyone says that's the worst, I will still defend it and say there is still some value to it. And it is not better than Super Mystery Dungeon, which is pissed me off more than 5 times.
Well, that was a very small number. I disagree with you. I do think Super Mystery Dungeon is better. Um, if at least on the story aspects. Um,
And the only reason I plan on 100%ing Super is because it's easy to see like the progress I'm getting.
but anyway, we're getting so far off topic, and holy shit, this is over 40 minutes. So yeah, I'm going to talk about critic ratings now. Fucking hell.
Good idea, really good idea, really.
Yeah, because we need to draw this to a close. All right, so IMDb gives this movie a 7.4 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 90%. Common Sense Media gives it a 3 out of 5. And then 85% of Google users liked this movie. Now, before we get into our ratings, I want to reiterate the ratings that Lily and I gave the first two movies.
Perfect. I was going to ask you if you went back.
So for the first movie, Lily gave it a 9.0, and then I initially gave it a 7.3, but then in our How to Train Your Dragon 2 episode, I updated that score to 8.2. And then for
How to Train Your Dragon 2?
How to Train Your Dragon 2, Lily gave it an 8.8, and then I gave it an 8.0.
I think, and you said how you felt about the movie as it stands to others. I think this is the perfect movie to close out the series.
Yeah,
and that's why I'm actually going to rate it higher than the first one. But not by much. So 7. Wait, what? No, not 7. 9.2.
Yeah, well, since I have already blatantly stated I think that this movie is better than 2, but not as good as 1. Aside from the animation, because obviously the animation will have improved since 2010. But since I rated 2 8.0 and since I rated 1 8.2, the only thing I can rate this movie is 8.1.
Oh, you really had your hands tied in that rating.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, before we go, join us join us tomorrow for Star vs. the Forces of Evil Season 1. Join us next week for Love, Simon and Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated Season 1. And with that being said, I've been Avery, that's been Lily, and no need to kill us, we're friends.